this race.
Monster run off turn 2.
Can't get it to the high side. Here he comes. There he goes. Oh, no, Kansas saves, and here they come to the line.
I'm a fortune teller who sees the future, and I see it now.
I'm expecting something with Ferrari this weekend, and he ended up at Hendrick somehow.
Oh, God. No, please. Oh, God. I don't like that thought.
Driving to 5.
I can see the goosebumps that just hit Jacob just now.
Carson.
Let's get into our IndyCar segment really quick. Scott Dixon. He continues to prove he's the Iceman.
He really is, and kind of came out of nowhere too this week to win.
He really did, and so it's the second win in a row. I think it's his 55th career win.
54th or 55th, something like that.
It's somewhere around there.
He's slowly catching up to AJ.
I don't think he'll get there.
Nah, I don't think so either, but he's going to be close.
He'll be close. And
who knows, he could be still 10 years from now. It's not like he's slowed down any.
Exactly. So second win in a row on the season for Dixon. I think that's his first at Gateway. I think that sounds about right. So currently Dixon is 74 points behind his teammate Alex Palou. Either way, Ganassi is going to win the championship this year, whether it be Dixon or Palou.
Yeah.
So yesterday,
happy.
I would be. So yesterday, Joseph Newgarden basically his championship hopes are basically done, especially with including yesterday with the last 2 races at Indy and yesterday at Gateway with 2 weeks of crashes. He is out of championship contention. It looked like he would be the one to take it to Palou. That is not to be this year, unfortunately, for the Indy 500 champion. Do you guys think he can make a championship run next year?
Yeah. I mean, he's
absolutely
just Newgarden. He's always going to be up there.
Yeah, I think there's just things that could easily be cleaned up, and I think you look at it, I mean, he was in the hunt up until these last 2 weeks, and these last 2 weeks have just gone as bad as you could, hope, as bad as it could go. So I think, for him, he's going to come back a lot stronger next year, and I think really it's just about capitalizing on the consistency that they had built on throughout this year. Because I mean, they were crazy consistent this year. They were one of the better teams at finishing. I mean, up there with Alex Palou. And then just these last 2 weeks just really fell off the wagon and weren't able to get the points that they needed to stay in contention.
Yeah, and I don't think it was the pressure that got Newgarden, because he's about as cool and collected as Scott Dixon.
Yeah.
I think he just lost focus is all. I don't think he is choking or anything like that.
I completely agree with that. It's just you just don't see that too often from Newgarden. So I wouldn't call it a mistake, but just unfortunate circumstances for the 2023 Indy 500 champion. Not something that would come from Newgarden almost ever. But it was a very interesting race, very entertaining race, in my opinion, actually. Would I think it would have been better at night? Yeah, because I'm biased and I like night races.
No, I think another driver has lights too.
Yeah.
I read that earlier, right before we started. I didn't catch who said it, but it was Rossi, I think, who said it.
I didn't see that. So we've got 2 races to decide the championship. Dixon is currently 74 points behind Palou. Palou has a good enough finish this coming weekend at Portland. I think it's safe to say he will clinch the championship this weekend.
I don't think so.
I said if he has a good enough finish.
I don't think he will. I think Scott Dixon will just show up right at the end out of nowhere again.
I would love that because I want him to be a 7-time champion, but we'll see how it plays out.
Devil's advocate, I guess. I've said it. I've said it the last couple of weeks. Pelot just needs to do just enough to just keep staying in front, and guess what? He's done just enough the last 2 weeks. What he's doing right now will get him by like 14 points if Dixon continues to just keep winning, right? So obviously it's a tall task to expect Dixon to now go out and win the next 2 races and win 4 in a row to end the year. So Pelot's fine. Pelot's just got to keep doing what he's doing. Like I've said the last few weeks, just keep doing what he's doing. He's going to be fine. I'm not freaking out. This is still Pelot's championship, in my opinion.
I agree. But at the same time, that's a dangerous mindset to get in. Do just enough.
I'm not saying that he needs to be going for just enough. They need to be going for podiums and stuff. But I'm just saying that he's got a buffer there, and well, they've used it the last few weeks. I mean, it like I said, if he finishes exactly where he's finished the last couple of weeks and Dixon wins, this is then looking like it's about an 8-point. He's got an 8-point lead by the end of this thing. So he's close right now. If everything keeps playing out the way it is, but things are going to change, right? Things are going to change. Who knows? Maybe he starts running better. Maybe he has a Joseph Newgarden type run, and then everything really hits the fan going into the finale. So there's a lot that could happen, but damn it, if he just finishes decent this weekend, he's going to be fine. He's going to be just fine.
Or I can just see it though. Pelot's team pulls a Ferrari. They're not Ferrari, though. Nobody can be Ferrari.
If something stupid happens to him this weekend, I'm personally going to send him this clip of you saying that and just anonymously send it over his way and let him do what he wants with that information.
I mean, there's always that possibility.
Yeah.
If something stupid happens, I'm not going to be happy about it.
So let me just I just want to press the issue here real quick because so Jacob, you said that if something crazy or something stupid happens, you're gonna be upset, right?
Yes, I did.
So why are you okay with Nashville being the finale next year? Can you please elaborate for me?
Let me tell you why. A, because I live only 3 hours away from there, I might go. B, it's actually a really good setting for a championship finale. C, the only con I can think with it is the stupid people on Broadway going to be complaining and whining about it with all the tracks set up, much like in Chicago earlier this year. Wow, all the streets are closed, yada, yada, yada. But I am okay with the Nashville Street Course being the season finale next year.
Well, I have to take away your point A, because as somebody who lives in Phoenix and avidly thinks that Phoenix should not be the championship race in NASCAR, even though I go to the championship race every year and have a campground site at the racetrack every year. So to be fair, my whole thing, did you hear what I said about it? Did you hear my qualms with it?
I think I don't remember. I know I watched
watch your own show.
I watched it, but I don't remember it.
See, my big thing, and Chris knows this, right? My big thing was just it's almost like with street courses, to me, they're either chaotic as hell or they're boring as almighty. And so all you do is you kind of point your finale into being, hey, is it going to be chaotic or is it going to be boring? But then again, that chaoticness is not chaotic in the way that you would want for a season finale. It's chaotic in the way that Alex Pelot misses a quarter and there goes his championship because there's a weird wall there because we're on a street court. Just something stupid. Like, that's my thing. Is like then they're inviting stupid things to just happen in a race that is supposed to not have stupid things happen. That would be my only thing, I guess. But hey, what are you gonna do? I'll look on it I'll try to look on it in a fonder light come this time next year. Maybe I'll look differently. Maybe by then we'll have seen a second Chicago street course race, and maybe I'll be a much bigger fan of them. We all know I was a big fan of the first one. Maybe a second one will make me more of a fan.
We need a New York street race. That's exactly what we need.
The Times Square street race.
Oh God.
I think that they really should have one at the last race be at an iconic track like Laguna Seca. I thought that was a perfect place. Or maybe someplace in Florida because that's where they start the season.
Oh, because that's where you live.
I don't live anywhere near Miami or Homestead or St. Petersburg.
Yeah, fair. Would you go to the race though if it was there?
If it was cheap enough, maybe.
See, that's fair. See, like I give NASCAR a lot of credit because like their tickets are always like on the cheaper side. It's always going to be cheaper for those of you out there who don't know. It's always going to be cheaper to go to a NASCAR race than it is going to be to go to an NFL football game. I'm just being straight up with you. You're going to get a lot more out of. I mean, I think there's some tracks that it's $50 go see a cup race, $60, $70 go see a cup race. Versus, I was trying to get tickets for a Seattle Seahawks game because we're going to Seattle later this year. It's like $300 for 400 section tickets. I'm like, I'd much rather go watch a NASCAR race at that rate. So for those of you who like haven't been to a NASCAR race, or let alone, I'm sure IndyCar is I'm pretty sure IndyCar is just as cheap. I mean, just check out those ticket prices. Maybe you guys can go to an event. I want to go to an F1 race one day. Real quick, random question, but what would out of all the F1 tracks in the world, what's the one that you're going to?
Spa.
Okay.
I have to
See,
think
for me,
about that one.
it's either of the ones in Italy, or I would go to Bahrain. Actually, I watched a guy go to Bahrain because Bahrain's actually one of the cheapest Grand Prix you can go to. And I watched a guy that went to Bahrain, and in the country, it just looks beautiful. The people were super nice. There's a lot of things that I would like just about the country itself. Then you add in the beautiful racetrack and in the fact that you get kind of a race at night. I'll take it. Let's do it.
I'm thinking maybe Monza Monza. It's
right.
just because Monza is one of those tracks that I've raced on since like F1 1997, 98 or something.
What? That's fair. All right, so I'm going to go a little off topic. Out of the 3 races I'm going to list, which of these would you guys want to go to? Daytona 500, Indianapolis 500, or the Bathurst 1000?
Oh, that's easy. Indy.
Yeah, I would say Indy for me. I've already been to Daytona 500. I went to the 2018 one. Guess who won the 2018 Daytona 500?
Austin Dillon when he spun Eric Almirola.
Yep, that is correct. That's who I saw win the Daytona 500 in person. Nowadays it eats at me a little bit. Back then I didn't really care, but yeah, I've seen Daytona. Indy's on my bucket list though. I would love to see a race at Indy, especially just I didn't watch a ton of IndyCar until I was probably 12, 13, 14. That was when I started watching more IndyCar. But when I was really young, Tony was always good there. So that's where it was special in my heart. So I would love to see the Indy 500. That would be a goal. But even the Indy NASCAR doubleheader, if that's the best I can get, that's what I'll take.
I don't think I got a chance to talk about this a couple of weeks ago, but I will say this. If they do bring back the Brickyard, which as much as I love road courses, they should. It's a crown jewel race.
Yep.
They don't, I'll cry.
One thing that I will miss was the doubleheader, which I think that was so good for everybody involved.
Oh, it was awesome.
And it always kind of made for some very interesting racing too, because there is different rubber on the track for one thing, and just kind of weird things always happened.
Well, go for the crazy route and have, IndyCar do the road course in the morning, have NASCAR do the road course in the afternoon, and then on Sunday have NASCAR run the Brickyard.
Oh, they won't
Doubleheader
do
at
that.
Indy. Everybody gets
It'd
the
be
best of their
awesome.
both worlds.
It'd be awesome,
Why
but
not-
they would never
Why
do
not
that.
go to Iowa? Do the oval. Corn country.
I mean, I've said that I've always been a fan of going to Iowa, and especially if you've seen recently, they've found a way to kind of add in a lot of like mobile suites and stuff like that to really elevate that track. And I mean, it looks like it could handle it at least once. And I've always been a fan of Iowa. I like it. I think it's like a better version of Richmond, in my opinion. It's a lot wider, and I think that with the way the banking works, you're using the top lane just is so much more viable in specifically in turns 1 and 2. At Richmond, I you can use the top lane, but you're not all the way kind of, way up there. At Iowa, I mean, it's just kind of free game all the way around that racetrack. It's a much different racetrack. I think it would really add something to the Cup Series schedule, and especially with these cars, maybe we'd see something.
Or also a doubleheader at Road America.
That's bold considering we don't have one race. I thought you were saying. Goodness gracious, my brain was confused. I thought you were saying 2 NASCAR races at Road America.
No.
It's like bold because we don't even have one right now. But no,
No.
I see what you mean. The Road America doubleheader would be wonderful because when does IndyCar race at Road America?
Like early July.
Schedule.
Oh, early July. A similar date to when Road America used to be.
It's convenient how that works, isn't it?
But coming from a Chicago street fan supporter, folks.
All right, we've got off the rails a little bit too much. That's my fault. Who are we picking for our podiums for Portland?
Portland. One of my favorite racetracks, a track I hope I get to see a race at one day. I'm so happy the Xfinity Series goes there. Give me on my top 3. All right. Give me. Man, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm gonna play Jeopardy music right here.
All right. Give me Christian Lundgaard at number 1.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's very
whoa.
I'm going for it. Give me Scott Dixon number 2.
Okay.
And then let's go ahead and give me Scott McLaughlin number 3.
Scotty
Both
McLaughlin.
Scotts top 3. I like my picks.
Okay.
I'm thinking Newgarden, Dixon, Power. I think Newgarden picks it up because now the pressure's off.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to pick Dixon to win. I think he's going to go for the 3 peats. Now here's the interesting part. I got to pick my other 2. Power P2. Marcus Ericsson P3.
I was gonna say Marcus Ericsson would be a good pick.
Speaking of Marcus Ericsson, he is not going to be with Chip Ganassi Racing next year.
That's right. He's going to go to Andretti. A lot of people are saying that's a step backwards.
I don't know. I feel like it is.
I think it's a step sideways.
I don't know. I don't know right now.
I was going to bring this up in the last episode when we had technical difficulties. Could this lead to a possible comeback to F1? Because remember, Andretti is still trying to get that F1 team, and Marcus Ericsson has a couple of years F1 experience. And he's shown that he's a very good driver. I mean, he almost won 2 Indy 500s in a row. Probably should have won 2 in a row. So could that be maybe part of the plan?
I don't know. We've talked about it before. If Andretti was going to roll with their F1 team, and if they're going to roll with their IndyCar drivers as their F1 drivers, I think it would be Herta and Grosjean. But like I said, I just don't know right now.
Is it really far-fetched to call it a step back? I mean, when you just look at where things are right now. Chip Ganassi's got 1-2 in point standings, and then Marcus Ericsson is 6th, and then your next closest for Andretti is 10th with Colton Herta, and then Kyle Kirkwood at 11th, and so it's like, is it really like far-fetched for somebody to say that it's a step back? I mean, just look at the stats.
I mean, yeah, Andretti had a terrible year this year. I think they've only had one winner this year. Yeah. And that was Kyle Kirkwood. And but the year before, weren't they in the running to maybe win a championship against Power? I forget who Power was up against.
May have been Palou.
But that is something.
In 2022, he was up against Newgarden.
Okay. I don't know. I don't think that's really necessarily a step backwards because Andretti's always going to be there.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
And they say that Andretti just offered him a bigger contract. Speaking of contracts and controversies, what about Alex Palou?
Yeah, that's a weird situation, isn't it?
I don't understand it. I really don't. I'm just going to be blunt about it. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand any of the legal issues. He was going to McLaren. Now he's saying, nah.
It's just such a mess. And it all started last year. I genuinely don't even know what to say about it because it is such a big mess. And thought it was over with, and hey, guess what? Nope. McLaren said, nah, hey, hang on. We still want him.
And he had that mini feud with Chip, which I didn't quite understand either. It's
just getting ridiculous at this rate.
And is it him or is it his agency or what? I just genuinely don't understand what's going on.
I feel like it's his agency because remember, was it Palou? He didn't approve of the statement being released last year, or was that Piastri?
That's Piastri.
That was Piastri. Because something similar that went down with Piastri happened to Palou last year, and that's basically started it.
From what I'm reading about it through an article on jalopnik.com, from what I'm seeing, the main issue that is had is that McLaren claims it paid Palou in advance for the 2024 salary. That obviously that contract was no longer, in progress or whatever. So obviously McLaren wants the money that they gave Palou from that contract, and that's where this kind of all stems from. So according to this, while Palou hasn't indicated that he won't race for McLaren in 2024, it is 100% certain where he will step behind. However, all signs point towards Palou remaining with Ganassi. The driver team pairing has seemingly healed all past wounds as they edge closer to sealing their second championship in 3 seasons this weekend at Gateway.
Man. Controversy seems to follow, and legal issues seem to follow him. Pillow.
Yep.
Sounds like a lot of people nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, him and Piastri both.
And it's always McLaren.
Maybe it's a Zach Brown thing.
Maybe. And I like Zach Brown.
Yeah, he's one of the few Americans on the grid. Now that Otmar's gone.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't mention that. Otmar left Alpine, whatever they're called. How you say it in real American English. But he's gone now. And he grew up in Detroit. So I think the only American really left in the paddock is
Logan Sargent
and Zach Brown. And Gary Gannon, race engineer for Haas.
You for real right now?
Everything's just such a mess.
But yeah, those two are really the only big people left in the Americans left in the paddock now, which is sad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, everything going on around Pillow, though, it's just weird.
The timing of it is couldn't be better, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So where is he going to be next year? Is he staying with Chip?
I think he's going to be with Ganassi.
Looks like that's the most plausible.
Man. Also, going back to Marcus Ericsson, your pick on him, I was thinking about that too. And, you know, he crashed in, I think it was practice, and he went out there with a backup car, and he still did half decent.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny, the two American Legion cars that were out there, the drivers driving them were European. I always found that funny.
Go figure. Go figure at that. So
we have a Swede and a Spaniard driving the American Legion car.
So I think we've went on long enough about the whole McLaren and Pillow ordeal. Let's move on to something a little more positive.